With Halloween quickly approaching, the Georgetown Palace Theater is ready to get you in the spooky spirit with the murderous melodies, dare I say, of Sweeney Todd. Damon Brown, who plays Sweeney Todd, and Sarah Jordan, who plays Mrs. Lovett, are here to tell us more. Y'all, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely to have you both here. Damon, we're going to start with you. Talk to us about the story of Sweeney Todd. I think a lot more people probably know about it in the last 10 years or so because there was that Johnny Depp flick.
Sure.
But talk to us a little bit
Johnny
about
Depp play, and of course a recent revival on Broadway, so it's gotten a lot more popular over the past few years. But yes, the story of Sweeney Todd, without giving away too much, is about a barber who comes back from imprisonment after about 15 years. This is all taking place on the backdrop of Victorian London, so spooky enough to begin with, all at nighttime for some reason. But he's intent on revenge against the judge who put him away in prison, and he meets Mrs. Lovett, who comes up with an interesting way of getting rid of the bodies.
Ooh, okay.
So,
the Demon Barber of Fleet
Yeah.
Street, I should say, is kind of like the baseline here. About y'all's production, though, specifically, Damon, can you talk to me about, have you guys taken it directly as it is, on Broadway and replicated it, or have things changed just a touch?
it is very, very faithful to the score. So
Okay.
for those who are interested in hearing Stephen Sondheim's score as it was originally presented, this is the score that we're doing. So it's very, very faithful to the original production from the 1970s, and of course the Broadway revival was faithful to that as well. So
Okay.
it is faithful to the original production.
That's good to know because, you're showing up, maybe you don't know a whole lot about it.
Right.
At least you're getting to hear Stephen Sondheim.
Exactly.
And in all his glory. Okay, Sarah, talk to us about how you guys are bringing kind of a fresh take to your roles. Mrs. Lovett is one of the title characters, actually. Even though Sweeney Todd is part of the title, she has a big role in this.
Yeah, no, she's up there. I think the thing that was important to us, because the show can be so dark with the subject matter, is that we wanted to use as much of those comedic sections as possible, so that while you're taking in all this darkness, you're also laughing. And Mrs. Lovett is a big comedy character in the show. So for me, my goal going in was just how funny can I make her, how silly and ridiculous can I make her, so that against the backdrop of a Sweeney, she looks even like more ridiculous. And I think we balanced that really well together. My Mrs. Lovett is very just fun and peppy and excited about everything she goes into, even when it's really dark and weird. But she's ready. She's like, let's do this. And she's a go-getter. That's what I'll say.
A go-getter. And
about
does that have any crossover with your personal personality?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I bring a lot
Are
of
you a
myself to
go-getter?
it. Yeah, I'd say so. I bring a lot of myself to her. And it's like, I don't love all the decisions she makes, but she loves them. And so that's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. Okay, Damon, what would you say about Sweeney Todd? Is it hard to embody this villainous character with a murderous side?
Well, of course, as actors always say, when you're playing a villain, you of course approach it by going, well, the villain doesn't think that they're a villain.
Sure.
When they're in the middle of whatever they're doing, they maybe only realize that later when it's too late. But it is fun. I think, like Sarah said, there's a lot of dark humor and dark comedy in this particular play. It's not all doom and gloom and despair, even though there is a horror element to it. It's very fun. It's fun to play villainous characters. It's fun to play people who make questionable decisions. So kids, yes, we're not an example.
Don't do what they do.
Yes,
Yeah.
Don't do what we do, but we understand the feelings
Yeah, absolutely.
that might drive you to do something like that.
Well, Sarah, I'm glad we're talking about kind of the doom and gloom, as you say there, Damon, because I want to know actually how gory does it get? Because if memory serves, in certain productions of Sweeney Todd, you can see some, of course, some fake blood on stage.
There is definitely fake blood in our production, but I wouldn't say it's overly gory.
Okay.
We don't hide any of, murders happen on stage. That is just a thing that happens in this show.
Yeah.
But we're not going out of our way to like make blood hit the audience or anything crazy like that.
Okay.
Splash zone.
So no, nothing like that.
Bring a raincoat.
It's really worse for us on stage.
That is so true.
The tip is if you, in real life, if you ever enter a barber shop and you see it covered in pools of blood, just ask questions.
Okay.
Just be suspicious is all I would say.
But as the audience, you are safe from the blood. It's
Yeah.
not going to be anything that I think would make people nervous or uncomfortable.
Gotcha. But on that topic, Damon, who would you say is maybe the best audience? Because I'm hearing that, maybe there's some adult themes.
Yes, there are
involved here.
adult themes, and there is, of course, violence, and it's horror, but it's comic horror. So I think PG-13 is probably
Okay.
the best, and people know their kids. Very little kids are probably going to be spooked by some elements of it because it does get a little bit gritty and real. But other than that, I think your middle schoolers, you know, are going to get a lot out of it.
Yeah. I just heard from our head of marketing that his kids get excited to watch. It's like some really scary movie. It's not Rosemary's Baby, but it's something like it because he watched that at 11.
Yes.
And so they all wait to get to the age of 11 so that they can join Dad
I was going to say,
on the horror journey.
That's a good tip. So you know your kids. So if you know their cutoff point, then yeah.
Okay, good to know. But do we have to know anything, you know, about the musical or about the backdrop of the story maybe to attend?
Definitely not. No. Everything is provided for you in the context of the musical. So if you're a Sondheim fan and you know this musical really well, you will get a lot out of this. Because
Rhymes
you will
within
see
verse.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
that's what Sondheim
People
was.
singing in counterpoint and not being able to listen to each other because the music is so complex. But if you know nothing about the show, you will get a lot out of it as well. It's just good comic horror fun. So
good fun. Okay,
Yeah.
Sarah, that's not the only thing y'all have going on for spooky season. Let's first talk about Misery and then talk about your upcoming gala.
I'd love to. So Misery is at our Playhouse space, which is our black box theater, also in Georgetown. And they are right now performing already. They close on November 10th, but they are doing a fantastic job over there.
Is this the Kathy Bates movie?
It is.
Okay.
It is,
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a cast of, I believe, 4 people, and they've been getting fantastic reviews, and audiences have loved going to see that. So highly recommend. We also have our first annual gala, which is going on November 9th. The theme is A Night in New Orleans, and it's a fundraising event for the Palace. So if you want to continue to see shows with us and let us do what we love to do for you, please come and support us there.
That sounds good. Yeah, we want to do everything we can to keep the education going because I know that's something y'all do as well. Last question here real quickly, Damon. Tell me about a ghostly evening.
A ghostly evening, yes. The Central Texas String Quartet and ghost stories and a shop where you can buy ghostly memorabilia. It's just I think it's a good lead-in to Halloween. And it's also a good opportunity, if you haven't been to the Palace, to kind of experience a community theater, because that's what we like to remind people, is that we are actually a community theater. So the performances are all people who live in this area. The people who build the sets are volunteers and retirees who come in and volunteer their time. So our cast, our crew, everybody is from here. And we really are a part of this community and operating a theater in this community. So come out and
Yeah, and we want to continue to support that the best we can. Guys, we really appreciate your time today. Break a leg.
Thank you.
And I can't wait
It's
to
scary
see
to say in this context, but yes.
yeah,
but not
absolutely.
really. But thank you. Yeah.
Okay, catch Sweeney Todd at the Georgetown Palace Theater now until November 3rd. You can get your tickets right now by heading to georgetownpalace.com.